Hi everyone, this is Neha from College Shortcuts. I hope you guys are having a phenomenal day. I'm very excited on Dream School TV to be interviewing Mary, a student I met. How long ago was it, Mary? At least a few years ago, right?
It's been like almost 4 years now,
I
I
know.
think, if not three.
Great.
Yeah.
You were a teenager and now you're not a teenager anymore.
I was about to go to college actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And now it's like you're a full blown woman in your 20s. It's like, yes, such a different
Yeah.
time, isn't it?
Yes, definitely a different time.
Awesome. So, right now, we're obviously in the middle of launching our Dream School Retreat, which is all about the power of in person events and especially for teenagers. Now, Mary, one of the events you and I both met at, that we were both co coaches in the same area of the dorm that we were managing at University of San Diego, was Tony Robbins Global Youth Leadership Summit. So, what I want to do today was talk to you a little bit about not just that event, but our coaching styles and how it's so powerful to have these in-person experiences. So, for a lot of people that may not know me, do you mind sharing what it was like for you to co-coach with me, obviously our common friend Mina as well, together for this event and what that was like?
Yeah, so all personal things about you aside, like coaching with you was one of my most memorable years at Gills. That year, I was your youth coaching. You were the main coach in that room, and coaching with you was phenomenal because I felt that the girls really got someone who felt young but felt like an adult as well, an authority figure for them, and was like a fresh take on the advice that they needed or where they were in their life. And you having had so much experience with youth and mentoring people, especially, at a pivotal time like their college, the time when you're going to college, that was huge because that time is so pivotal, and has so many challenges. And those challenges, were conquered and addressed and talked about and discussed and opened up with, a group of how many? I think it's like 14 girls that year. So that's, to give that kind of attention and that kind of space to 14 people and do that successfully. And we had such an amazing group that year. Everybody had their own breakthroughs that year. I always remember that group. It wouldn't have happened without us being, that dream team. And I always specifically remember your awesome way of coaching and your awesome way of really addressing what they were struggling with or what their limiting beliefs were or what was that next thing that maybe they hadn't even thought about doing next that could, potentially take them to where they all wanted to go. And they all had different dreams and aspirations. All of them were very different individuals as well. So,
Very
so
different.
yeah.
Oh my. I still remember that one time, at the event, we had a little situation with the girls. And it was one of those situations where, like, I pulled you aside and was like, hey, this is not okay. We have to talk about it. And
Oh my
it was
God,
like,
yes, I
remember that?
remember now.
I'm not going to name it because it's kind of embarrassing, but just in general, just the balancing of being relatable and then still being the adult, I think is such a powerful relationship to have with them because they are pushing boundaries constantly and figuring out what's okay versus what's not okay.
Yeah, and they're all very different in how they're pushing their own boundaries and what things they're even going after. Now that was 4 years ago, they're, on their way as well. And, I can definitely say that the girls that I've kept in touch with from our group, they've all done things and they've all grown and they've all gone on to create things that were, in alignment with what they wanted to do back then. And that wouldn't have happened if we, weren't such a cohesive team with these girls that year and had coached them just how we did.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you remember, I had like a sign in sheet for how long everyone should shower.
Yeah.
For like my team was always lined up perfectly and ready to rock. And I think that's just it's how I even run my team. It's how we run all of our clients to make sure they're always set up, because to me, and that's how I really want to run my retreat as well. There's going to be luxury and fun and great meals, massages, and personal development exercises. Just, but I want to make sure that that there is structure to it, and I think that was the
Oh
one.
my gosh, I have no doubt there will be amazing structure at your event at all. And events are just, they're really important. And I mean, and the way that they're run is really important too. And I just have no doubt that your retreat will be well structured and well organized and will be well thought out. And what can we give these people in these, how long did you want it to be? 2 or 3 days, or did you say
Yeah,
5 days?
so the event is actually August 1st through 4th of 2019 that we're doing this, and I'm really excited about it because I really want to combine the power of personal development and college admissions in one, so that prior to walking into their senior year, they're going to have the entire common application done with their main essay.
Yeah, and I'm not someone who's an expert in college shortcuts. You're the expert here, but I can tell you from experience from myself having gone through the whole college application system on my own. Unfortunately, by the time I met you, I had already been admitted and was on my way in the summer on my way. But I can say like that this isn't happening. This is so important. Like this is not like your common way of tackling like college admissions. The personal development side is going to set students up for so much. I mean, just me not particularly doing a specific college event, but still doing a group event live in person is really what set me up for my success now. So I can't even imagine, specifically combining the college admissions process and tackling, that process with personal development. I can't think of a better thing that you'd want to do, honestly. And I'm not just saying this like, yeah, I wouldn't have hopped on this interview if I didn't think it was going to be something that was a game changer and transformative in your industry.
Absolutely.
So
I know, and I know we both are people that are really into personal development. Do you want to share about when did you start your personal development journey, if you don't mind me asking?
I was 15. Well, technically I was 15, but I listened to all 28 days of the Tony Robbins tape when I was 9.
Okay.
Okay,
So you were like deep into it early on. And would you say that because of it, because I remember meeting you as a teenager and being like, I'm sorry, is your soul like 60 years old or something? Do you remember? It was like, I remember sitting with you on that little dorm bed and being like, no way you're a teenager. Like, how is that happening? Right? And it was like, it floored me. And I think personal development to me, I believe, is the shortcut to being the most best version of yourself. And I feel like it's one of the biggest things lacking in teenagers is that they're all focused on achievement, goals, results, and they're not taking a moment to really ask themselves the questions that matter.
Yeah. Personal development, I always say this, and I say it over and over and over again whenever, I've done a lot of personal development, especially events. I've done a lot. And I always say, every time I go to any event where there's like youth or they're trying to get youth, I say, I would not be even half of the person that I am if I had not committed to going to personal development events. Like not even half the person that I am. I would be.
I would probably be. I know exactly what I was. I was a shell of a human being. I was a shell of a human. But keep in mind, you did it. You started at an earlier age. And just real quick, do you mind sharing with everyone where you went to college?
Yeah, I'm currently I'm in my last semester as a double major in musical theater and journalism at Columbia College in Chicago.
Okay, awesome. Okay, and yeah, you're about to graduate soon. But I will tell you that I would be barely a shred of a human being, really, because where I was to where I am now, most people don't even like recognize who I am and stuff about me because they're like, how did Neha go from here to here? And to me, my goal is to take the college admissions process with this retreat, and instead of making these 11th graders all pit themselves against each other like they do in their local high schools and stay in this competitive space, instead come together, collaborate, and come from a space of abundance that no matter what is going to happen in this process, whatever is going to happen will happen. And where you're supposed to go will happen for you. For example, in your case, would you say that the college you're at was exactly where you were supposed to be?
Yeah, and in the beginning, like when you're first applying, I remember like I got accepted to so many places and I got rejected from so many places, and like I was not 100% sure that this is where I needed to be, but this is where it worked out for me, and this is where I got into the VSA program and all of that. And then once I was here, I was like, wow, like this totally worked out, because I was not about to, hop on to a smaller campus or like a major university like Michigan, or like I needed like an urban, more independent campus because just the person that I am, and I had no idea that like that's what I was going to get by coming here, but clearly that's what I attracted because of who I am. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't like really aligned my like who I was when I was 18 years old. Like if I hadn't really like taken the time and been involved with all those events that really helped me to align with exactly who I was then, I would have never ended up here
Absolutely.
now.
And one of the things I would say is that our common friend Mina, that is an incredible mentor to women around the world and in general,
And me.
and you, right? Wouldn't you say that? So a lot of parents ask me, why would I get a mentor for my child at high school? Do you have an answer for that question on your
Oh my
viewpoint
gosh.
on
Yes.
why that even matters? Like, could they just read a book, or could they talk to their counselor once every few months at school? Like, what did getting a mentor in your life early on do for you that you've seen is different than a lot of the other people you've been around?
Unfortunately, the way society is today, the way mentors are set up, and not to discredit, the college advisors that do work so hard and try their very best, like at these high schools and at colleges and everything. The way mentors are set up and what we are taught is a mentor for us in college or in high school. It's not the same kind of mentorship that you're going to get with something like your event now, or like if you were to go get a coach, or if you were to go to some kind of personal development. It's not the same kind of mentorship. This kind of mentorship is really about you and going inwards and getting to know yourself in ways that you've probably never known yourself before, and not being afraid to just not being afraid of being who you are, right? And not having to go with what the status quo is. You don't have to, do 8 different kinds of activities, be SGA, all these extracurricular activities to be this person because that's what you think you have to do. No, you really find ways to harness and like accept what your real strengths are, and then flourish and then stand out with those 1 or 2 or 3 big things. And
Yes.
you only learn how to even figure that stuff out by being brave and by doing personal development work.
Totally.
only,
And having someone that's done it a few steps ahead of you.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about this yesterday on my own Facebook Live, how I've jumped around in so many industries. I've had, I'm a double major, so obviously you couldn't put me in a box. And for a long time, that was like a place of shame for me. And it wasn't anymore. Once it like all fit together, and I saw that
I'm a triple major girlfriend. 3.
Yeah, so there you go.
And that's okay. Like,
Yeah,
it's okay to have multiple interests. It's not okay if you have no interests.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I think
I'm willing to say that if you're that person who's watching this right now and is thinking like, I'm that person who thinks like I have no interest, that's because you haven't had the right mentor yet, and you haven't had the right person next to you to tell you like, really, like, are you sure, or are you just not really being honest about what you really want to do? And that's the kind of like bravery you develop by going to these events. You become comfortable with exactly who you're meant to be and who you are and where you're going to go. So you embrace both. Like I always say, one of my favorite quotes is, work like it depends on you, and pray like it depends on God. And you kind of learn how to like embrace those like two things with personal development work, in my opinion. So
yeah, definitely. And one of the things that we're really big on with our mentorship program is the fact that we've just seen so many students burn out, and they focus on too many things, and they're and I hate to say this, but it's such a grim statistic, but the highest suicide rates are in people between the age of 13 and 22. And to me, out of any other rate, this group of people typically don't have to handle extreme financial situations. They aren't dealing with divorce. They aren't dealing with a lot of extreme illnesses at that age. So to me, one of the things that I try to combat with college shortcuts is by pairing someone closer to your age, or even just having someone by your side that's not just your parents. What are your thoughts around why it's so powerful to avoid burnout through this entire experience of high school to college?
Well, one, because the truth is it's not necessary. But you don't realize that it's not necessary until you have the right person to guide you through it.
So true, because I burnt out multiple times.
Oh yeah, so have I. I've burnt out when I've tried to do too much or too much of what I thought I was supposed to do. I mean, the truth is you don't burn out when you're doing what you love to do.
Well, I will say that is a true statement, that you don't typically burn out, but you can burn out if you don't have the right advice around what you should be focused on. Because I love what I do, and there were points of time, even in running college shortcuts, like last year, I wrote an email to my list that was like, and I remember it so clearly, I still get emails a year later from it. It was around this time, and it was like around spring break, and I said, I need a break. And my whole audience had emailed me. Like, I got the most responses from that one email, and I wasn't expecting it. But the whole point was the fact that we had like grown so fast. We were doing incredible things, but I had a lot of issues around control and perfectionism and doing things a certain way. And I will say that like the burnout definitely does happen if you don't love what you're doing. Like that'll happen much faster, but burnout can happen when you do what you love doing as well. But it's about getting around the average of the right 5 people around you to really surround you in a way to feel collaborative. And the problem is most high schools don't have a situation where everyone that's at the top is like, oh, we're all best friends.
No. And the thing, and like, I will say this, like the people that I have met in the personal development events and world that I've been, especially Gales, because it's a youth event. So that's why like, I think this is so great what you're doing, because it's tailored around younger people. Are people that they will really be there for you forever. I mean, I've known some of these people for 8 years, and I consistently talk to them. I consistently hear from them. They have helped me while I was building my business, while I was applying to college, while I didn't know how I was going to pay for like all those things. Like they have been around for every step of the way. So I just think that, surrounding yourself and finding those people, this is like what this event can offer as well. And that's like a vital part of success is who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely. So, yeah, and I want to say hi to Shar. I see some people commenting. If you guys are watching, please feel free to comment and ask any questions you want. Shar, let us know what grade your child is in and any questions you have. Would love to hear from you. So Mary, I know we've talked about the power of mentorship. And one of the things you had said was you went through the college process on your own. And how it was not that fun. Can you talk about what that was like for you to try to do this by yourself?
Yeah, so I did go through it on my own. I did have a college advisor, and she helped me as much as she could. And I did have teachers that loved me and helped me as much as they could. But there were, hundreds of other students as well. And like when I look back on it, I got as much help as I possibly could. But I could have done so much more. I mean, I was an incredible student with a great GPA, close to 3.9 GPA, I think, almost, or a little higher, unweighted.
Isn't it funny how when you look back now, I want to put that into perspective for people. So many parents and students are so focused on that number. And look, 4 years later, you're like, I think it was, because before it was like, I have to make this GPA. And it's so funny because do you remember your SAT or ACT score?
I don't remember my SAT score, but I remember my ACT. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's like one of those things where it's like, it was at the time, it just felt like so much, but now it's like, it's like, there's just so much more. Like that was not the hard part. College is so much harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I got to college, it was like a totally different ball game, and now I was focused on another GPA. It just keeps going. Like the point is, like, it's not the important part. The important part is, yes, getting in, but getting into the best place for you. Yes. On top of that, getting into the best place while growing. Exactly. So
You want to find the right environment. So you had help with your college advisors. How many people were in your grade, roughly? Is it more than 100?
more than 500
More
ish,
than 500 students.
a
And
little
I
over
tell,
500.
so
Yeah.
on average across America, there's typically 500 students to a few counselors. You know, with college shortcuts, it's 5 students. Imagine, Mary, if you were 5 students to one consultant.
Whoa. I had one, there was one college advisor for
To
all
500.
500, plus some of the juniors that were like starting to think about college right before going in.
Right, because we work with students
Yeah.
as early as 8th grade. So you can only imagine if they have these earlier students. So really they've got closer to 700 to 800 kids they're looking at on an average year.
And I will say this, you know, when you say that you work with students that are like in the 8th grade, like I can imagine that some people think like 8th grade, like that's so early, you know, like now I don't want to stress my kid out with like thinking about college in the 8th grade, like let them grow a little bit. But like knowing you, like I don't think it's more about like their personal growth and trying to get them into like where they're supposed to be because that's where they want to be, and just kind of setting them up for more possibilities of success and opportunities than they would normally have if they just like aimlessly bounced around, you know?
Yes,
So
that's what they usually do. They just go to school in 8th or 9th grade. They're doing math, science, English language, and a history class. They'll be involved in 1 or 2 clubs, and they have no idea what they want to do.
it's a
I
good
got
playground, you know?
well, it's the playground, exactly. And you know, like we've got students in our program that are authoring books, that are going to be TEDx speakers. We have people that are part of teams developing apps together because they're into computer science. We have people going to a Stanford camp because they're really interested in a certain thing. There's so many things, and we literally customize it for each kid. You know, so no, it's not about like, yes, you can have a vision, like I want to go here. That's awesome. But the real question when we're doing our mentorship program is like, hey, what do you want to do with your life? And it's a hard question because it's early on, and most parents are like, well, how would my kid know they want to go into medicine? I'm like, well, let me tell you how they would figure out if they don't. Go stick them in environments where they actually go experience it. Because this is the number one thing that's causing a problem in our education system. Experiential learning doesn't exist at a high school level. So, I
And
mean,
that's such a problem for creative people too. Like people who go into arts or
I know.
writing.
Like people, like I had a mom recently say to me that she was like, I never thought I would come across an Indian college consultant. And I go, what does that mean? She goes, well, usually we're doctors, lawyers, and engineers. And I was like, yeah. Or
Fit you into a box.
or you could be a TV host, run a social media page, get kids into college, be a TEDx speaker, be an author of 3 books. I'm already on my 4th. It exists, but that all happened because I had incredible mentors in place pushing me, and I still am getting pushed right now. Like,
And I will say this right now. I have never invested in a mentor who doesn't have an event.
yeah, that's all.
Let me tell you why. Because it's one thing to like work with your mentor online, in person, whatever, doing this and that day to day. But taking an actual retreat, an actual 3 days where you are live in person, nothing else but this, immerses you in a way that is so life changing. You will never forget like the entire like cohort of everything that you learned.
Exactly.
So I think that the event is really going to make it for some people and is going to be extremely transformational for those who are working with you.
Yeah, so we got some questions from Shar here. Shar says, I have a 9th grader, and I just need to know, when is the best time to start thinking about this? I'm trying to figure out things for her as early as possible. She's taking a lot of AP classes and interested in psychology and law. So this is interesting, Shar. So out my viewpoint, Mary, totally feel free to chime in. If she's already in 9th grade, that means that basically she's got 10th and 11th grade, and that's it. 24 months of time, really, if you look at it. 9th grade's now done. To really be able to build your portfolio, as I call it, for the colleges, but also to figure out what you want to do in the next 2 years. Now, if she knows she wants to go into psychology and law, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and then to confirm if that's actually accurate or not. And I always ask, Why is she interested in that? How do you know she's interested in that? Has she done this, that, the other? So that is very important. Shar, do you have any thoughts on that, Mary, about like?
Yeah, you. I remember what I was into when I was in the 8th grade, and I was lucky because I always knew that I wanted to. I have it literally in a journal right behind this curtain in my shelf. Like, I want to double major in musical theater and journalism. But I remember that, like, then when I was in the 9th grade and I took marine biology, I was like, no, I want to do marine biology now.
So did I. I wanted to do marine biology and live on the back of a boat. And it's really funny because, like, I sometimes go on these tours and I literally look at the little marine biologists and they're like early 20s, and I'm like, that could have been me.
I grew up by the water, so it was the intuitive thing to want to do, like in Miami, like be a marine biologist in Miami, and like, but then I came back to what I actually wanted to do, which is what I had written in those journals, and I was like 8th and 7th grade, because I had the experience of going into theater and taking part in my school newspaper. And those were like, outside interests of like my academic role. So it's just, it was all experiential. I made them academic eventually by, choosing to take a theater elective and a journalism elective, but like they were experiential experiences that allowed for me to discover that. And then you find out you can major in theater, which I didn't even know till the 10th grade. So
it would have been so nice to know if you had a mentor that could have told you that. Yeah. And
the same thing happens to me now when I'm going off to graduate school. I didn't even know that what I wanted to do was an option.
Right. I know. And then Char's saying, my daughter does all these AP classes. Does that even help? Of course. I mean, honors AP classes. Yeah, that's easy. But when would you tell Char to get started if her kid's about to go into 10th grade in the next 6 to 8
About
weeks?
to go into the 10th grade.
For mentorship?
Yeah,
now.
Yeah, now. Yeah, now.
So
I'm curious what the objections are. And by the way, like, Neha's not paying me to do this. Like, I just really believe in live events, and I really believe that they're the best investment you can make for a kid. They really are.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I would love that. That's a great question. Char, what are your objections to getting your child a mentor? That's a great question. I never thought of that. So Char, I put also, just so you know, for all of our 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade students, we obviously have our mentorship program. That is a yearly program where we talk to your child every 2 weeks for the entire year, touch basing, checking in, and helping them align their vision with what they truly want. And that is all listed at collegeshortcuts.com. If you are interested, you can apply. Let's get on the phone together and figure out if our mentorship program is right for you. But yeah, I mean, I would say one of the big things, Mary, that I feel is lacking for teenagers is that direction. I mean, why would you say the experience side is just as important, like getting experiential learning? Like, what was it about those activities that helped you to figure out what you wanted to do?
If I didn't have the experience, like if I didn't have the opportunity to dive head deep into what, my interests were, which again, like I said, at the time I thought I wanted to go to school for marine biology, but I still like had that like little dream of like, double majoring and all that. If I didn't have that experience, I don't think I ever would have like really decided this is what I really want to do. I would have never been so sure about it. And I would have definitely lacked so much focus when it came time to actually apply. I would have lacked focus in what I was looking for a program and what I even wanted from my school and all of that. I would have never like known what it is that I actually, because not all colleges are built the same, not all programs are built the same. I would have never known like what experience of being in theater did I enjoy, which by the way was like the intellectual theater history and inquiry, performance, things like that. And in journalism, I like multimedia aspects of journalism. I would have never known, so when I was looking at the colleges that I wanted to go to, I remember I looked like, well, this program offers this kind of stuff. That's not the same as this journalism program, so I would have never even had clarity or focus about where I needed to apply if when it comes to college stuff, if I hadn't really had that experience.
Yeah, and Mary, what about your parents? I mean, did they go to college here?
So I'm a first-generation college student. Yeah. My dad graduated while I was in college, and technically my uncle also has a college degree, but he finished it when he was in Cuba. I'm half Cuban. So yeah, that's how I'm actually a first generation college student.
That's amazing. And I think that's a big thing. So many families, it's like the first time they're even going through this process. And so they're so confused because they don't know what they can't even give their kid the right advice.
Oh yeah, so that was something like when I met you, I was like, God, I wish I would have met you before because I would have done anything. I would have saved up every inch of my babysitting money to like work with you back then. But every inch, what am I saying? Wrong unit, every penny. But what I meant was like, yeah, it's just going through that process when you're a first generation college student. I think a lot of the kids are thinking, in my experience, like, is this even possible? This is thousands of dollars. Am I even going to get a scholarship? Like, how do I even apply for those? And what are they? And every school has different kinds of scholarships that you can apply for once you get in. And all of that stuff, like the ins and outs, the puzzle pieces, each school is its own puzzle piece. And I missed out on so many opportunities because I didn't have, ways of keeping track of all of those puzzle pieces because I was only 18 years old, And I wish that I had had someone to like help me with those puzzle pieces, for all the schools that I got into at the time. And the other thing I have to say is like, yeah, it is possible, and mentorship is still for you if you're a first generation college, especially if you're a first generation college student, because you're going to broaden your horizons and broaden your opportunities, and just it will exponentially take you the quantum leap. You will take a quantum leap by getting mentorship, especially if you're a first generation college student, in my opinion.
Agree. I totally agree with you because my parents, they grew up in a small village in India, and they grew up like when TV was black and white, and like phones were barely used except a little bit because it cost too much. And then they moved here. My mom tells me that like when she flew here, they fed her asparagus and she didn't even know what it was. So she like didn't even eat the whole flight. She flew alone because she married my dad after meeting him for 5 minutes. He moved first because he was an IIT grad who got part of the brain drain out of India. So he was a DuPont engineer. So she moves over here. She flies by herself. She's like, it's the first time I like flew internationally was to move to America. And here, and English is not their first language. And we're expecting them, like, if people watch the way my mother uses Facebook, I mean, just in general, like social media, she has no clue what she's doing. Not to say that like that even matters, but like just think about the technological advances that have occurred since when our parents were doing things versus when we are. And most parents, when they applied, they hand wrote their applications. Students now at a click of a button. And when you were talking about the scholarship stuff, like on average, 9 out of 10 kids work with us get scholarships. Out of all the schools they apply to, it ranges between $20,000 and $300,000 in scholarships.
It doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me because it takes, when you're trying to get a scholarship, what you're trying to do is get the school to invest in you, And so sometimes like it's so hard for us to even see what's special about us. Or like I had a hard time at the time too. If I didn't have, teachers that kind of did what they could to make my essays the best that they could and everything. I mean, yeah, so if you have someone that's going to say, this is what you can write about because this is what we know about you that is true, that is special, and you can get, this is how you can pitch yourself the right way, right, and convince a college to invest in you, then, that doesn't surprise me that 9 out of 10 kids that work with you get scholarship.
Yeah, because it's so true. It's like, what is that superpower that makes you stand out? And I talk with families all the time that are like, my kid has a perfect GPA. They scored a 1550 on the SAT. Should we be applying to Ivies, Neha? And I'm like, I don't understand how that's a question. They're like, well, they got a B in chemistry. Is that okay? I'm like, you think that one B has determined your child's future of where they go to college? This is how huge the gap is, Mary, when I talk to families. And it breaks my heart because I hear from families that like don't choose to go with us. And then they have what I call analysis paralysis, and they forever to make a decision. Then they never make a decision. Then we run out of spots because, again, it's 5 students to 1 counselor. And, I hear like What really disturbs me, I'll tell you what really disturbs me. In the last 3 months, everyone was getting their acceptances, but everyone was getting rejection letters. Now we have like tens of thousands of parents that read my emails. So I just put out one email that said, "Hey, just curious if anyone is dealing, whether you use this or not, I don't care if you use me or not. I want to make sure your child is taken care of. Did any of you guys get waitlisted from universities in any format?" I got hundreds of emails back.
Mhm.
I was like, and they were embarrassed. They were like, "Neha, I'm so sorry. I read all your stuff. I even booked a call with your team. We just decided not to do it. I couldn't get my husband on board. And now my kid's waitlisted." But he shouldn't have been, because he was perfectly within range from an academic perspective. What are your thoughts on that, around just that confusion?
Well, the truth is that your kid shouldn't have been waitlisted, but the possibility is that he probably got waitlisted because something on his application was just not a 100% for them. And it just takes a set of, I mean, I do the resume stuff and job applications, you do college applications, right? And it just takes a like clean cut pair of professional eyes who have seen thousands of these to see exactly what word might have been that like they wanted to see differently, or what sentence, or what format, or
Format.
which essay you should have chosen,
Format.
given your writing. Yeah, format, down to a format. So like,
It is
okay,
format.
like,
It is format. The essay format, the resume format, it's a real problem, dude. Like, there are people that have great stuff on their resume, but they've made it 7 pages long. Or they wrote it in a way that doesn't even, like, they're too scared to share how amazing they are. So there's just so many things that are so wrong. It just drives me nuts. I mean, honestly, if you see the amount of resumes I see, it's like, oh my God, how is it? No, this is not going to work for you. You know?
yeah. So the truth is that your child shouldn't have been waitlisted, but they were, because there wasn't like a second set of eyes. And even just, hiring someone for that, I don't know how all of your services, every single
Yeah,
one.
I mean,
I know about
one of the big things about it is, like, we've just found over and over that parents think it's just the scores that matter. And like, what are your thoughts around, when a parent says, "Well, he has a good GPA and an SAT score. He thinks that he doesn't need you, Neha."
That's not necessarily the case at all, and especially depending, schools are changing, and they change every year. The college application system is changing, forever changing. It's changed in the 4 years that I've been in college. I mean, you can talk on how much it's changed in the last 4 years. Just SAT scores have already changed, like the way they score them. Everything is changing like all the time. So no, like that's not necessarily true. And especially depending on what school you're going to go to. I mean, there are some schools that are moving away from making that their like central point of evaluation, and that might be the perfect school for you. And because you focus so much on, that SAT score and not everything else, you might not get into the school that's actually the right fit for you, all because you chose to focus on the, how long is it, 2.5 hours test on a Saturday or something. I don't even know how long it is anymore.
That is such a good point. I didn't look at it from that perspective. You chose to focus on the 2 to 3 hour cajillion hour of studying for that test, thinking it's all that mattered. And the truth is,
yeah, and
not.
the other thing that they chose to focus on, probably if they're that kind of student, is like everything that they think looks good. But the thing is that there's hundreds of other students who are doing that exact same thing, and not the right school. The right school is like more interested in who you really are, because they're trying to add to a collective. A collective is a set of valuables, a collection is a set of valuables, and they're trying to see, are you, a collectible for us?
Right. Are you going to be part of it?
So
that's a way to, no, it's a beautiful way of saying it. It's kind of like, for example, if they're creating a beautiful student body, what is Mary's personality type? How does she feel in her essays? What is she like? Is she spunky and fun? She's into theater. Okay, cool. She fits that. Like, she's not like that introverted, weird tech theater person who's like, I just want to fix the lights, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many personalities and so many ways of being. And so they're trying to create that beautiful freshman class where it's really just like all these different things. But if you're the student that does millions of things just because you think it matters, or you just focus on your scores and you don't really authentically tell your story in the essay, they're just not going to know who you are. And you're going to look like every other kid in your bucket of your race, your GPA, you're just another number. You're just common.
They're just not going to know whether you're the right fit for them or not. And that's like a shame, because I think the ideal situation is to have a college look at your application and say, yep, this is exactly what we're looking for, accepted. That's like the ideal thing.
That's exactly what I love.
Or believe it or not, the other ideal thing, and you might disagree with me on this, is when they say no, you're no, and that's it. Because colleges know their brand. They know exactly what kind of student is going to thrive and do well at their school. So you have to put a little bit of trust in them too, and not be like super angry when you like don't get accepted.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. One of my last videos of my course, College Shortcuts course, was acceptances and rejections and how to handle them. And the fact that, through this process, you hit the submit button and you leave the rest. Mary, you and I both share spirituality big time. You're going to be going to India this year, which is really freaking exciting. You're doing a bucket list item on my list. One World Academy is like bucket list on my list of things to do.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Maybe I'll join you. Actually, I can't.
We can talk about that.
My retreat's around that time. I can't.
We can talk about it.
Wouldn't that be crazy if I showed up to my retreat and I'm all like, okay, we're going to write the essay with just manifestation. But I talk about the fact that you should do your best and leave the rest. And that no matter what's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. And you just have to realize that the colleges are lucky to have you. And the ones that say no, you say, thank you so much. Moving on. Right? That's the power, in my opinion, of being able to.
I know that's so difficult. I remember my rejection letters. But like looking back on them now, this is my advice. Cry about it for max 3 hours. Move on. Because the truth is that it's like I said, colleges, they know what the right fit for them is. Excuse me, let me turn that off, wherever that is coming from. But colleges, they know exactly what the right match for them is, So they know what works for them. So you have to trust that that they're choosing you if they think that you will thrive truly there. Yeah.
Great. Well, just so everyone knows, Mary and I met a few years ago. She went from a teenager to now a young woman, which is amazing to watch. And, we were together at a Tony Robbins event. I was the main coach for our group cohort of students. Mary, for people that don't know me, can you say a few words about who I am as a person on a personal level and share just some things that you've known about me since we've met?
By far one of the most driven people I've ever met. Absolutely no excuses kind of person. But also just very fresh and very young at heart and spirited. But like not afraid to really tell you, this is what it is, this is what you have to do, and this is what you shouldn't do, and to just ask the tough questions. Yeah, I think that's exactly who you are. You're not afraid to ask it and tell the truth.
Yeah,
that's another thing.
I tell the truth sometimes, and it's not easy, but I tell the family, I said, look, we get hundreds of applications every single week to work with us, and we invite the families we feel are the right fit to work with us as well. And I have no problem saying, look, true honesty, like we have 11th graders that come at us, they're just not the right fit. I was like, you've done nothing over the last few years. I can't perform miracles. And they're like, oh, I can't believe you're not willing to take my kid. They're so perfect academically. I'm like, but I have nothing to work with. I can't take $1 from you unless I know I can drive a result. And you're right.
Yeah.
I am that type of person that's just like very much in integrity and find that all very important. So I do appreciate you kind of sharing your experience.
Yeah, that's why I got on this call, because the truth is that, there is integrity in your business and how you get students into college, and you don't just take anyone. You are not performing miracles. You're just you are not, I don't think what people need to know about you and your business and your company and College Shortcuts is you're not, scamming the college. You're optimizing the students' content to get into their dream colleges. So you're just optimizing the person. That's
Exactly.
simple.
It's very simple. To me, it's very simple. And it's just, like even with I'm going to plug my computer in real fast, even with the whole college scandal that occurred, which was crazy, really, if you think about how nutty it was. People just didn't realize that, these types of things were happening. And it's a major reason why I interview every family, is because I have to make sure they're also of integrity and know that we optimize the content. We don't write the essays. We don't submit the application for the student. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So to me, it really is about, helping
The
a student
process,
shine.
your process is very integral. It's very, very truthful, and it's just about optimizing the student and everything that they've done and presenting it in a way that's favorable to them, that doesn't always come intuitively to people, but is so necessary.
Yeah, I would say it hugely does not come intuitively to families, especially, for example, our more math and sciencey cerebral types that are very matter of fact about everything versus
yeah, even if you think it does, you could still use some work, because even I was an incredible writer. I mean, theater, literature, journalism, those were my majors and those were my interests, and I was an incredible writer. And now I'm an even better writer, and I still look back and I've read over my old college essays, and I've thought to myself, oh my God, like I wish somebody would have told me what I know now about optimizing resumes and about optimizing, my personal statements and stuff.
Awesome.
So,
we're gonna end on that because that's a powerful note. So everyone, I've put in the links below if you're interested to work with us one-on-one. We've got our College Shortcuts program. All you have to do is go to collegeshortcuts.com/apply to get optimized. I love the way Mary said that. And then the second is, if you have an 11th grader, soon to be 12th grader, that is going to be doing their common application, our retreat is right now open. So please go to collegeshortcuts.com/retreat. Mary, it has been an honor to have you on. I love you. And I know this will not be our last conversation. I think there's a lot of collaboration we can be doing together.
The after college process.
Yes, exactly. Okay, cool. Well, thank you everyone so much for listening. And Mary, thanks for being on.